The work of art in the Age of
Metaverse Reproduction.
Essay 6. Art history might be seen as the working out of a tension between two polarities within the artwork itself, its course determined by shifts in the balance between the two. These two are the artwork's cult value and its exhibition value. Artistic production begins with figures in the service of magic. What is important is that they are present, not that they are seen. The elk depicted by Stone Age man on the walls of his cave is an instrument of magic and is exhibited to others only coincidentally. What matters is that they see it. Cult value as such even tends to keep the artwork out of sight. Certain statues of gods are accessible only to the priest in the cella. Certain images of the Madonna remain covered nearly all year round. Certain sculptures on medieval cathedrals are not visible to the viewer at ground level. With the emancipation of specific artistic practices from the service of ritual, the opportunities for exhibiting their products increase. It is easier to exhibit a portrait bust that can be sent here and there than to exhibit the statue of a divinity that has a fixed place in the interior of a temple. A panel painting can be exhibited more easily than the mosaic or fresco which preceded it.
Digital imaging forms like crypto art enjoys universal access across all connected screens and devices with no barrier to entry besides a device that is connected to the net.
And although a mass may have been no less suited to public presentation than a
Streamed.
symphony, the symphony came into being at a time when the possibility of such
Universal.
presentation promised to be greater. The scope for exhibiting the work of art has increased so enormously with the various methods of technologically reproducing it that, as happened in prehistoric times, a quantitative shift between the two poles of the artwork has led to a qualitative transformation in its nature. Just as the work of art in prehistoric times, through the exclusive emphasis placed on its cult value, became first and foremost an instrument of which only later came to be recognized as a work of art, so today, through the exclusive emphasis placed on its exhibition value, the work of art becomes a construct, Gebilde, with quite new functions. Among these, the one we are conscious of, the artistic function, may subsequently seen as incidental. This much is certain. Today,
The mobile screen.
is the most serviceable vehicle of this new understanding. Certain, as well, is the fact that the historical moment of this change in the function of art change, which is most fully evident in the case of
Screen content.
allows a direct comparison with the primeval era of art, not only from a methodological, but also from a material point of view. Prehistoric art made use of certain fixed notations in the service of magical practice. In some cases, these notations probably comprise the actual performing of magical acts. The carving of an ancestral is itself such an act. In others, they gave instructions for such procedures. The figure demonstrates a ritual posture. And in still others, they provided objects for magical contemplation. Contemplation of an ancestral figure strengthens the occult powers of the beholder. The subjects for these notations were humans and their environment, which were depicted according to the requirements of a society whose technology existed only in fusion with ritual. Compared to that of
Emerging metaverse.
of course, this technology was undeveloped, but from a dialectical standpoint, the disparity is unimportant. What matters is the way the orientation and aims of that technology differ from those of ours. Whereas the former made the maximum possible use of human beings, the latter reduces their use to the minimum. The achievements of the first technology might be said to culminate in human sacrifice, those of the second in the
Autonomous vehicle.
which needs no human.
Driver.
The results of the first technology are valid once and for all. It deals with irreparable lapse or sacrificial death, which holds good for eternity. The results of the second are wholly provisional. It operates by means of experiments
Collected data.
and endlessly varied test procedures. The origin of the second technology lies at the point where, by an unconscious ruse, human beings first began to distance themselves from nature. It lies, in other words, in play. Seriousness and play, rigor and license are mingled in every work of art, though in very different proportions. This implies that art is linked to both the second and the first technologies. It should be noted, however, that to describe the goal of the second technology as mastery over nature is highly questionable, since this implies viewing the second technology from the standpoint of the first. The first technology really sought to master nature, whereas the second aims rather at an interplay between nature and humanity.
Or between physical and virtual.
The primary social function of art today is to rehearse that interplay. This applies especially to
Screen media.
the function of
Screen media.
is to train human beings in the apperceptions and reactions needed to deal with a vast apparatus whose role in their lives is expanding almost daily. Dealing with this apparatus also teaches them that technology will release them from their enslavement to the powers of the apparatus only when humanity's whole constitution has adapted itself to the new productive forces which the second technology has set free.